There's a lot of people that are starting new relationships, and it is a
Mhm.
beautiful starting point. It's a clean slate. Even if you've been with the person, like, for a while, and maybe you've newly decided to marry them or to recommit, or,
Mhm.
or maybe you've just met them. There is this beautiful foundation that can be laid. Like,
Mhm.
what actually anchors us to know that there's something bigger than this fucked up moment we're going through right now? And um, that has us move through these manipulative, slippery tactics that I would say almost every human has in them.
I would say unconscious tactics
Unconscious.
for the
Yeah.
most part.
Yeah.
Now,
Like
there's
when
people
you're
that use
when
them,
we're
but
up against a
yes.
wall, or, like that kind of those meaty fucking
Hmm.
tap roots that everybody has. We built foundations.
Yes, we
Um,
started with a,
when we first met,
yeah.
and it was a process. There was one that you brought to our relationship, which I forever am so grateful for. The open, honest communication.
Yes.
It was something that you shared verbally that it was important for you to start a relationship with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in my past relationship, I would say relationships, there was definitely things that we don't share with our partners. I think that's a common thing,
Hmm.
which is also a part of the problem in relationships, is that we do hide things from our partners and stuff that maybe we're shameful about, or maybe we think they'll judge us, but really we're judging ourselves so badly that that's the problem, is that the self-criticism and the self-judgment is stops us from being authentic and open and all these things. And then, well, what if this relationship breaks down? The million questions that come up. And then if you have kids and you get a divorce, like, anyway, there's a plethora of avenues we could go down here, and we don't need to go there right now. But I digress.
Okay, so open, honest communication.
Thank you.
So that was a beautiful foundation. The other one is, should we choose to
Hmm.
end our relationship,
Hmm.
that we are in a place of love
Hmm.
before we do that. This one resonated with me because I was like out the door and I'm running. I was a runner. And there were definitely moments before you and I met where I transcended that. And I knew that I had alchemized a lot of the like meteor taproot of that mechanism of just like that fucking run.
Yeah.
It's so easy in a moment of conflict to be like, fuck you, I'm out.
Yeah.
And we both had that in us.
Yeah. I
And
have time for this shit.
we
So we
um,
needed the
we
foundation
needed that
of love
foundation,
to
and
come
we
back to.
both knew that that was something we needed.
Yes,
And then we had the third one,
which is growth.
which was growth, a commitment to growth.
Yeah.
Because it's through that commitment that I believe we were able to transcend a lot of these victim states, gaslighty, manipulative, slippery ways, because we both have spoken and embodied our commitment for growth.
Hmm.
And that's commitment for growth in our relationship, and it's commitment for growth as individuals.
Yes.
And it's in that realm that that then I could see, the in each one of us, the manipulation or the gaslightiness, and then go, oh, okay, well, wait a second though. We can acknowledge and see the gaslighty,
Hmm.
but we also have commitment to growth.
Yeah.
And so in that, there's the opportunity to be able to transcend these really delicate moments. In a past relationship I had, we didn't have a foundation of growth.
Mm.
And I can see why there's aspects of that relationship that did not work.
Like you didn't come into the
No,
relationship with
we
that
didn't talk about
in
that.
mind, and didn't come into that my
Yeah,
past relationship with that in mind. It's just
yeah,
kind of how my path opened up and like flourished. It's like,
yeah.
oh, this is I I am on this seeker path,
Hmm.
for lack of better words, and
Mm.
there's something in me that I need to keep pushing
Yeah.
changing
Yeah.
and being with these things. And yes,
Yeah.
so
So as
not
a
having
partner,
that coming into a relationship, it's without sitting down with your partner in the moment and like basically creating new ground rules or foundations of the
mm,
relationship, which most of us don't have great communication skills, especially initially in our relationships. It's hard to do that.
yeah.
So coming into a new relationship, it's easier to set those foundations because we already know what we kind of want and
Hmm.
what we're looking for in a relationship if we're choosing to be in one.
Yeah, and since we're on that conversation, because there's a lot of people that are starting new relationships, and it is a
Mhm,
beautiful starting point. It's a clean slate. Even if you've been with the person, like, for a while, and maybe you've newly decided to marry them or to recommit, or,
mhm,
or maybe you've just met them. There is this beautiful foundation that can be laid. And another thing that we did, since we're on this conversation, is we vetted one another.
yes, we did.
And
Many questions.
I had never been in that process before. And part of it was kind of out of like, I don't want to fuck around with your time and,
Hmm.
and then find out that there's like certain pieces of us that are like actually fundamentally incompatible
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, whatever it might
And it
be.
probably is more, you don't want to fuck around with your time
Yeah.
in those times,
Yeah. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
my time.
Did I say my time?
You said for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, like we just
That's,
didn't want to mess
I don't want to
around
waste my
anymore.
time, and you don't want to waste your time.
Yeah, we didn't want to mess
Yeah,
around. And we had to acknowledge, like, I don't know what the fuck you are. Like, really, like
yeah.
we knew what worked between us, but then we were like, as we pull back all these layers. So I can remember like legit like researching online because it gets to a point where it's like, well, what do you actually ask?
Hmm.
What do you ask one another?
Hmm.
So that was something that I was really passionate about was actually like researching online to be like, what are the some of the unusual things that one might ask somebody else that aren't part of the traditional, kind of things that you
Yeah, to
would
really
ask?
dig into the roots of like, who are you? Yeah.
Mm,
And do I want this?
yeah, totally.
Is this really a relationship I want to be in?
Show me all the, open up all your suitcases of all the shit that you're bringing on
Yeah.
into this. Do I really want to do that? Let's like really know all of that before we choose to, go through this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. So that was a precious, and we spent many, many months kind of interviewing
Yeah.
one another.
And it was an ongoing practice
Yeah.
for probably the first 2 years
Yeah. Yeah.
that we met, that every 3 months we would sit down and possibly have a glass of wine or
Hmm.
whatever. And it's like any question was open
Hmm.
on the table. Like you could ask anything, or I could ask anything of you.
Yeah.
And we would answer as honestly as we could
Yep.
in those moments.
Yep.
So, yeah, that definitely helped build a foundation as well.
Hmm. Yeah, it did.
And it fell into the open, honest communication.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Coming back into like the conversation of triggers and, this whole kind of navigation of pulling out the tap roots with
yeah.
each other um and there's beauty is in partnership
Hmm.
of seeing one another's tap roots
Yep.
often. But it's not for me to pull your tap root.
No, but you naturally do it. The same as I naturally do for you. Isn't often actually, I would say further down the line in our relationship, I even came to the realization of there's most of the time, I'm not even intentionally. There's sometimes where I intentionally poke.
Yes, you were a poker
There's
for
times
sure.
for sure. But most of the time, it's not. And it actually just comes out of me in whatever way it comes out of me
Hmm.
and hits the trigger or hits the button. The vision I have in my mind is like the game Operation.
Oh. Oops, I
Exactly.
was just pulling your lung out.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Me.
Too close.
I'm too close. That was like operation. That was
Yeah.
like lung.
Yeah, we did the live operation. You may do it again if you move too much.
Okay.
But anyway, that's the
There.
vision in my brain is like It's like we're going to touch this one part. It's like, oh, I want to touch your arm, and it just happens to be where your button is today.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah, exactly.
Fair, fair.
So it's kind of funny to get to that point too, because then I don't have the same, because there's times where I trigger you,
Mm-hmm.
which then it triggers me,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, what the fuck? Like this
Mm-hmm.
was benign comment in my mind, and or I did something benign, I felt like, and it's like, nope, that was the button today. So then it used to trigger me. So then getting to the place where I'm realizing that things are coming through me and they may not even be mine, but it comes through me. Kind of like I would say a medium or like something like that. It's like, blah, you know, just speak this random thing out of the friggin' blue. And it happens to be the trigger,
Which then triggers you.
which then did sometimes
Yeah,
trigger me. So then it was kind of a both ways.
yeah.
But once I got to that realization of like, that's not mine at all. Like it's like
Sometimes it is you.
these things come out of me, and
Yeah.
it's not for me to take on when you're upset, is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd be times where I definitely
Mm-hmm.
take that on. So anyway, it's a funny, weird process
Mm-hmm.
to try and share, because it's like I know what it feels like and how it works within me, but it's not as easy to put out into words
Yeah.
to share and make it make sense.
Yeah. Make it make sense.
It's like, how do you explain God? It's ineffable. Let's just put it there. It's like, you've been on a psychedelic journey. Tell me all about
Just like the grievance of all of humanity.
it.
No, 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 no. It's not that. Okay, let's
Yeah,
war over that for a while.
exactly. Words will never be good enough to describe most of the magic of life.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something that I wanted to share in terms of aha moments.
Mm,
And there was an aha moment for me um, when um, I would say one of your meteor taproots was shown. And like I have it as, like with these taproots, again, we're using these analogies, but it's like when these high charged triggers
mm,
that are truly just like, I don't know, I have it like they're just an armoring kind of decoy
mm.
to like,
For me, I would say it was more um, like, because I armoring doesn't necessarily resonate with me as a male body.
fair.
Um, what I would say that I took things on as I really believed that that's who I was. So you picking at certain aspects was actually picking at my character.
So I'm not talking about those. It was truly like a moment where you were hot, really hot, like ragey hot. And whatever the subject matter was, it didn't actually matter because it was just an emotion in your body, this hot,
Mm,
ragey emotion
I
in
hear
your
you.
body. So that's what I'm speaking about. Like there was actually, at
It
this
wasn't
point,
necessarily a
there was
trigger. It was
no
just, yeah,
story
yeah,
in it anymore. It was just an emotion unfelt in this body.
yeah.
And as a woman, well, I can only speak for myself, and other women, like I can only speak for myself. So for me, not even as a woman, for me, standing strong while you were going through this high heated emotion, and
Hmm,
it was rage.
hmm,
It was high rage.
hmm,
And it wasn't about me. Like I had to really anchor into it. It's not me. It's
hmm,
not me. Um, and step into actually being like um, strong. And what I embodied was like almost like a lioness
hmm.
in that moment. And when part of my brain is like, fucking run. Like, what the fuck are you doing still in front of this guy? He could hurt you, like all the things, right? All the things.
Yeah, yeah.
And instead I embodied this lioness. And I think like I don't clearly remember everything you were saying in that moment, but the theme of what you were saying was like get the fuck away from me kind of thing. But it was almost in I have it like the wound was abandonment,
Possibly.
right? And so it would have been all those tactics to like have me abandon you.
Yeah, for me to be right
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
feeling.
yeah. And so while half of my brain, the logical side is like, you got this man could strike you, this I could be hurt,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
he's gonna hurt you. And he's saying like all the right triggers to have me be triggered by him,
Hmm.
by you.
Hmm.
And but the beauty is that we had already kind of unraveled and
Yeah,
been
we've been
in
through a lot of stuff before that.
before that.
Yeah.
And so I was able to, in that very moment, it was such a beautiful aha moment for me to support you.
Hmm.
Because we had been in the breadcrumbs of this fucking heated moment now.
Hmm.
And I had seen the patterns and gone through my own triggers of meeting you in this, and they were my own childhood
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And so then, we got to talk about all of this
Which
stuff.
then allows you to embody this
Yeah,
lioness like you're
this
talking about.
lioness. Um, and so this breadcrumb is, it can't be discounted that that
Hmm.
happened. These breadcrumb moments
Yeah, to
before
get
this
to
really
that.
heated
Yes,
moment.
yes.
And so in that embodiment, I stepped into again like this lioness. So while you're like spitting and fuming and like breaking down,
Hmm.
um, my instinct was just to wrap you
Hmm.
in love.
Yeah, I remember.
And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And for
Basically
me,
tackled me.
I fucking tackled you. You're right. I
It's a good
absolutely
thing I'm
tackled
small.
you.
It
And I like there was no strategy. Like it was as
was
present a moment
instinctual. Yeah, yeah.
as I have ever been.
Mm, fair.
Like there was nothing, okay, do this, this, and then this.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
like
yeah,
it was just like act now.
yeah,
And I fucking tackled you.
yeah.
And I like, "Argh!" And then I wrapped you
You need
like
to calm down.
in all of me. Um, like my whole body
Hmm.
was wrapped.
Hmm.
And for me, that was like, it was such a beautiful moment that we had.
Yes, I hear
It,
you.
like, how was that for you?
Well, it allowed me to, I would say it allowed me to release
Yeah.
in that moment. Like it actually allowed me to get the emotion out. I don't know the right words for it, but yeah, in that moment, it allowed me to just be
Mm-hmm.
with whatever I was going through
Yeah.
instead of like we're bickering or we're doing something else or I'm trying to get you away from me so that I can be right or whatever the thing is. It actually just allowed me to be in whatever I was feeling. And likely it wasn't even ragey. Like you say, likely it was abandonment or some
Yeah.
other deeper
Yeah.
wound that I would have had or trigger that I had that just had me be in that and want to be alone in that case. But truly, the undertone of it is like I didn't want to be alone,
No.
which is why then when you tackled me, is that it allowed me just to be and to let the emotion just come
Mm-hmm.
and then basically dissipate. And I think not long after that
Mm-mm.
is like there wasn't really any more rage
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Ever.
Like we haven't
No.
experienced it again.
Yeah.
So again, it's like transmuting it in a way that was healthy for us to do it and keep everybody safe still, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful moment. I think it's always there's so many things coming up for me right now. One of them is like it's beautiful to be allowed to be expressed
Mm-hmm.
in whatever you're going through and have somebody like sit with you and be with
Mm-hmm.
you through that moment without trying to change anything. It's beautiful just to feel, truly, and be witnessed, I would say is the other piece. Be witnessed by another human in your darkest times. Um, and still be there because I think that's like a piece that we're all looking for is that great, you love me, but you only love me when it's good.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's often a piece because we're so upset or whatever. It's like, well, number one, you can't be in love and anger at the same time. So I can get how we feel that way because the energy drastically shifts. And if I'm upset or angry, my heart is so far away from love that you are a million miles away from me in those moments.
Mm,
So it does feel like there's no love in the world at
mhm,
that point. The other side of this that I think is a good segue kind of thing into a topic is that having you as a partner, what I get to experience is a woman that can be with a man who's going through his emotions. I've heard and seen in different communities where that is an issue. Is like the women can't actually be so like there's lots of talk of wanting a man that's open and emotional and all
s-
these things.
sensitive
Yeah.
and
But
yeah.
when he actually gets to that point, it's like, well, what happened to the rock of the man that I knew? And I want him back because now I'm freaked out that he's feeling all these things and it's bringing up stuff within her at that point. Um, which is then her layers to go through, of course. And we've gone through those layers together, and
Mhm,
and I think there's magic in that. And I would say, as a future of humanity, I would love to see that more and more. Um, is going into that where women can be with men and men can be with women in their emotional state, because that's a whole nother problem too in my mind. Is like men struggle to be with the emotion of women, and their their cycles of emotion and hormones and
mhm,
all the things, right? So like, oftentimes we have no idea what the hell's going on.
mhm.
It's like, wait a sec, we just did this exact same thing like a day ago. What?
Sometimes we don't even.
Why are you upset? Why did this upset you? Or why are you crying right now? And it doesn't matter
Yeah,
ultimately. It's
yeah.
like, oh, just there's emotion there and that's okay and let it out.
Hmm.
Yeah, if that's how it needs to come out. So I think there's a lot of beautiful things in there that could obviously be expanded on, but
There was something that you said um, that I'd love to expand on, and that you can't be in love
oh yeah, yeah. Love and hate
and
or
hate,
anger, I said.
anger at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, that was something that I grappled with at the beginning of our relationship when you first shared that concept with me.
Mm,
And I was like, well, that kind of contradicts everything I've ever known of love. Of course you can be. Of course, that can happen.
hmm
And so I actually tried that on, tested it out
hmm
in many cases with our relationship. And you always, in your brilliance, would poke at it every time when we were in like a fighty, kind of moments of like, yeah, you in love with me now? I'd be like, yeah, I totally am. And you're like, yeah, okay, well, let's poke at that. Really, really, let's poke at that. Really?
As we're both running away in those heated moments of like, fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck
Do you love me now?
you. So in that testing and you reminding of that kind of concept, um, I came to that my own discernment of, oh, okay, yeah, I can see how that's not really possible.
hmm
Like my heart is not open.
Not
And
even a
that's
little
what
bit,
I
yeah.
resonate with. Like what is love? And the more that I tapped into what love was for me, I knew what it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it had to be that concept really had to be tested.
Yeah, yeah. Of you can either be in love or anger or hate or whatever the thing is.
Yeah, because
You can't be
otherwise
in
it
both
was,
at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
me
yeah.
that resonated, and I had to test that out because otherwise it's just a theory.
Yeah, of course.
Hmm.
That's all of it is until we test it out.
Yeah, yeah.
I find like that's been one of my bigger lessons through all of this transitions and growth and things is like great, I can read as many books as I want
Mhm.
or I can talk to as many people as I want, but until I like try that on in my life, it actually means shit.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
No, then it's just words you say.
Yeah, and oftentimes I would say there's a process that we go through, or at least that I went through, where I do need to go that route. Like I do need to read the book and then eventually it'll spark something that'll allow me to dive deeper into myself. So for some, it might be more like having conversations with people is that spark that triggers that moment of like, oh, now I can reflect on this piece of me. So that's, I would say, the beauty of all the tools and the things that come into our life, podcasts, whatever, to have us hear them. But then when we have that moment, now it's like, okay, now go. Like, because
Yeah, go into life,
it's
little
also
little
easy to
one.
like push it aside and not do anything with it and not go into your own experience of it. And when we have those sparks, that's definitely the moment to go into it.
Hmm.
It's like the when you're the most ripe
Hmm.
for that growth.
Hmm.
I
I
have
call
it.
that the micro moments,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
of life, and at every micro moment, which is just really as you go about your day, you're gonna have little tiny moments that are like, oh, right, I have this moment. I now have awareness of this moment, and I now, in that awareness, I can like freeze time a moment to now go, okay, wait a second. Here's it's like a choose your own adventure. Here's how I might have, unconsciously responded in that
Mhm.
moment. Now that I have this like this lock in time and this flash freeze moment, I can now with discernment choose
Yeah,
how I want to do this, what I want to say, how I want to act, those kind of things.
yeah.
And it really is like freeze. I have awareness of what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing it back to partnership, I would say that those for me are the moments where it's like time really does slow down
Mm,
in these
yeah.
moments to go, I can actually see how I would have responded in a past me,
Mm-hmm.
and I now have this beautiful awareness of what's happening right now. I can see the formulas, I can see the patterns, I can see how I've responded in past. So now I'm going to choose this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like bloop or bloop. Okay, how did that go? Quite no. And
I'm
it's
watering the seed. Did it grow?
what
Is it growing
happens.
yet?
And it's like, it's like we're an N1 in every micro
Yeah,
moment. And just because that one micro moment worked that one time, because I said the thing,
yeah.
doesn't mean that that's going to work the next time. Like, we can't be, that doesn't work that way.
Not always.
Not always.
No, it can. There's moments where that works great, but there's other moments where no, not even.
Yeah.
So you have to go through it 10 more times before it
Yeah.
clicks.
Back to N1.
Yeah. Let's try this process now.
And because this is our theme of like in partnership, there's beauty in I think something that you and I do often is these moments of reflection.
Hmm.
Um and sometimes we're not ready for them. And we get to choose the moments when we are, and then talk about them because
Yeah.
we don't really choose the moments.
Yeah.
It's just like
And I would say that, again, the
they can happen. We can
beautiful
talk
way that
about
we've
them.
created our life to have those moments,
Yeah.
to chat, even like to even
Yeah.
talk things out. It's like
Yeah.
we don't have the craziest schedules. We're
No.
pretty relaxed lifestyle.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's kind of like I shared in my own video by myself of like we live a little tighter, but it gives us the freedom that we want in our life so that we can have these moments of reflection.
Yeah,
And
we've curated a
yeah.
lifestyle of being slow, and like most of our mornings are spent talking.
Hmm.
Um,
Which is why we're recording them
yeah,
more so we
because
can
we're like we do
share
this all the time.
with all
So
of these lovely people out here that want to hear the randomness of our world or
random,
not.
yeah, or not. You don't have to. You get to
You get to choose.
choose.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the beauty of all of this. You get to
And if you're
choose.
here, we appreciate you.
Yeah, we do.
And if you're not here, we appreciate you too, because everybody has their path.